Welcome to my ANC TV, the final walk to freedom. With me, I have Mr. Keith Khoza, the head of communications at the Luthuli House. Welcome to my ANC TV, Keith.
Thank you, ma'am.
It has been a long day, but I think before we get anywhere, I want you to take us through your first encounter with Udad.
Well, the first encounter with Udad is the knowledge of him being there as a young person, even before you met him.
Yeah.
You had to first deal with the concept of who he was until you met him, to translate your understanding of the concept to reality. When I met Udad, it was after he was released from prison, and I was working for COSATU, and we became part of the team that worked to receive Udad to Mandela. It was an exciting experience of a person and the personality and what he represented. And from that moment, one would know that you're dealing with a principled leader, a well-grounded person, and somebody who knew what he wanted in life, but who knew where he was going. Very strict, focused, and uncompromising. He's a kind of a person that would tell you what he thinks. But he's the kind of a person as well who, when you walk in the house and he's in a meeting, would stand up, come and greet you, irrespective that you didn't come to him. He would stop what he's doing. And that was my first encounter when I went to his house, and I was at the time working for government. And when my boss went to meet with him, I went towards the waiting area. He stood up, came to me to greet me. And that had a huge impact on me. And subsequently, in my interactions with him while working for government, was a confirmation what the concept I've come to know was, ultimately.
Now, we have Udada inspiring people in different ways. And how did he inspire you as you were growing up as a young man in the alliance or even in the ANC?
Well, primarily it would be the force of focus. He has been a focused man. Firstly. Secondly is consistency. When you look at his life in the struggle against apartheid, every role he played, he made sure that he played a leading role. In the Youth League, he was amongst those who launched the Youth League. He became the leader of the Youth League. In the Defiance campaign, which came about as part of his contribution in making the ANC more militant, he was the volunteer-in-chief. When there was a need to go and canvass views about people of what an ideal South Africa was, he was amongst those who volunteered to collect those demands which resulted in the Freedom Charter. When the state became violent, he was amongst those who advocated for a military approach to dealing with apartheid, and ultimately becoming the commander-in-chief of MK. When they were arrested again, he was, because of his outspokenness, he was accused #1 in the Rivonia trial. And we would know that he also led the negotiations when he felt an opportunity existed to have negotiations. He led those negotiations, and then he became the first president of this country. So throughout his life, he's been a leader. And that's what inspiring the consistency that he has presented. But above all that is the willingness to take a decision. It doesn't matter how unpopular it may be. When the ANC projected itself as a peaceful organization, he argued strongly that the military option was the way to go. When everybody was convinced that MK will liberate the country, when he was convinced that there was a new opportunity, he risked being seen as contradicting himself and advocated for a peaceful solution. So he would, once he has made up his mind and he realized that was the right thing to do, he would go ahead and engage and win the day.
Now we had experienced something that we haven't experienced before as the country, having people from different, countries and even in the continent coming to pay their last tribute to Udada. What does this mean to you as the ANC?
In history, we know of what we call the 10 days that shook the world, the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. This is the 10 days that kept the world standing still when we mourned Datu Madiba. What we have seen today is unprecedented, and what we'll see on Sunday is unprecedented, where world leaders converge to honor one person, not because of his wealth or because of what he possesses, but because of his beliefs and his commitment to humanity. It is the 10 days that the world is using to sit back and reflect and think of how do we emulate this man? How do we retrace his steps and become better people to make this a better world? So it is the 10 days that will go in history as unprecedented.
Now another thing that was very interesting for me as a person is that everyone had a story to tell about Udada, be it an encounter you had with him, face to face, or through reading or his TV. What is your fondest memory of Udada?
Well, it's many. I remember once I was in government, and we're in Mokwase area, and the president had visited the area, and we're with the premier of the Northwest, and there was this convoy of presidential convoy, and somewhere along the way he spotted a couple, with an old couple with small kids, a white couple, and then he ordered the convoy to stop. And they did a U-turn, and everybody was trying to figure out what was happening. He said, no, I just wanted to greet these people. So he's a kind of a person who expressed his feelings and views quite easily, but who took notice. He said, it is a good thing to have that encounter with ordinary South Africans in an environment which is unprepared. And I must say that the impact was huge. Both people who were with him and the people that he was interacting with. It was a wonderful experience.
No, I'm sure it was. Now, how do we continue Dada's legacy?
Well, the life is always defined by values, and values determine our conduct, and our conduct determine outcomes. His life has been defined by a set of values: selflessness, the right to life, prioritizing other people, peace, reconciliation, and so on. As we reflect, there are all these elements that would come up as virtues. And these are the things that we need to look at and see how we internalize them as people and see to what extent they will take us forward. When Mandela came out of prison, the impact was huge. He united the nation. When Mandela passed on, he united the world. And these are the things we've learned from him.
Okay, so are you one of those people who know how to emulate Dada's voice?
I can't.
You can do that for us.
I'm very bad at that.
Brakit, thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.